Hi, students. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim. Thank you so much for the support. Hope you all are doing great. So this video is talking about systemic racism and how it is affecting Black people and how it is stopping some Black people from, probably moving forward or being where they are supposed to be, or there are some limits. I mean, it's just like, there are some limits you are supposed to get to. There are some limits you are not supposed to, that kind of something. And the other woman was also talking about how really acts like they are God, and how they keep saying that they are not their ancestors or they did not enslave anybody and all that. The reality is that you all know how ashamed they are when it comes to all this. And then you see them being defensive when with Black people talk about slavery, and they tell you that they were not the one that did it. It was probably what happened back then. Then they try to gaslight you. They tell you to get over it, stop talking about it, because it's been something that happened this and you're not supposed to talk about it, and that you are very lucky to be here, and for that reason you should be very grateful and look for a way to survive, because it is the land of the living or the land of the great, and you have everything in a platter of gold and all that. The reality is that they really don't know what they are doing, because some of them do not speak up on the systemic racism that is affecting people that look like me. Because if they dismantle that system, who do you think that they are going to press? So they won't. Let's get into this video.
White racists have held us back from so many things. And I normally talk about all white people, but I want to actually hit the nail on the head. I want to be honest in my last TikTok of 2024. It's white racists that are stopping us from all of the great things that we could have in this country. If you're talking about high-speed trains, white racists. If you're talking about healthcare, universal healthcare, white racists. The crazy thing is, it's not just white racists in power that are stopping us. It's white racists on a core interpersonal level. White racists are stopping us from being great. In fact, white racists have tried to stop every moment of progress in this country, and they have fought tooth and nail to not allow other people to not allow us to be great, to step into our greatness. It's actually crazy if you stop and think about it. White racists have fought against every stance that was progressive. Oh, the civil rights movement, they fought tooth and nail against that. Integration, they fought tooth and nail against that. Okay, Black people building up their own community, they're moving well. They they burned that down. Oh, Black people minding their business, they start riots. Oh, a Black person minding their own business, they lynch them. And you know what's crazy? What's really a trip for me is that whenever I see another brown person or another racial minority aligning themselves with white supremacy, it astonishes me. It astonishes me because you're not stopping to think about all the horrible things that the white racists have done to your people. Japanese aligning themselves with white supremacy. You're still not angry for what they did to your ancestors? South Asians, you're still not angry for the hell they put your ancestors through? Latinos, you're still not angry at the hell they put your ancestors through? But when Black people say it, it's a problem. It's bringing up old shit. Why you gotta bring up old shit? In fact, white racists have done so much work to stop us from growing. They're trying to pull us back. And honestly, it started with with Jenny McCarthy saying that vaccinations cause her child to be autistic. This is in no way, shape, or form being negative towards the people who are neurodivergent and or autistic. So please do not misinterpret as that. But we started moving backwards at that point. And then it was flat earthers. And then it was this. And every time, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Every time I think I'm gonna argue with someone or disprove or prove a point online, I remember that over half the country can't read at the 6th grade level, and even more can't read at the 5th grade level. We have functioning illiterate adults with high pieces of machinery in their phone checking the same 10 sites daily. ESPN. If you're kids, you're probably checking like a music site, music blog, social media, stuff like that. America could have been great, but it's because white racists didn't want anybody else to partake. Imagine that for a second. Imagine being so much of a hater that if you can't have it to yourself, you don't want anybody else to have it. It's really crazy. White racists have held us back from so many nice things. And I just really find it astonishing that more people don't see it as that. I even look at black men. And again, I'm recognizing that white people today, younger white people today, middle-aged white people today, were not being racist in the olden times. But you know what? Your parents were. Your uncles were. Your grandparents were. You see, the thing is, when weeds grow, there are certain weeds that you can't just pluck. Sometimes you have to raise the earth, set them on fire, or explode them down to the roots and then pluck those. The same thing can be said for racism. We're never going to solve racism because America benefits off that. It's what drives America. Racism is as American as apple pie. But what if it wasn't? What if just for a second we actually united and worked towards a common goal? And every time I think we could do that, and I'm filled with overwhelming optimism, I realize we don't even know how to merge on a highway. Anyways, Happy New Year, you guys. Bye.
I think the biggest detriment to even well-meaning white folks, right, is the need to be seen as good. That is their biggest detriment. And that comes from a consciousness that they will never speak of. And that is, for as much as they like to tell you, they are not their ancestors. They didn't enslave anybody. They would never harm anybody. In the same way that we carry, right, as descendants of slave, the same way we carry the heaviness of their lives, the heaviness of their experiences in this world at the hands of white people, they carry the shame of it. And when they push back against us, it's them not wanting to acknowledge that there is a shame, right? That there is a shame that they come from a people who did the things they did in history. There's a shame that they come from a people who have done the things that they have done in history. And a way to alleviate some of that shame is to be seen as good. That it is important to be seen as good as opposed to being good, right? And the reason why I make the correlation and I say, none of us know the names. None of us know the names of the white families assisting Harriet Tubman with freeing slaves. Because I would venture to say, those are the white people who rejected in a time where it was not safe to reject what all of their contemporaries were doing to black people and to slaves. That they rejected it. Whole cloth. They rejected it. And I believe the white folks who move in silence, who help in silence, are the descendants of those people. And the white people who have to tell you of their goodness, perform it for you, come from the people who also believed that because they were good to their slaves, they weren't bad people. There's no way for me to scientifically prove that. It is just something I know. It's just something I know. White people really committed to this work, really committed to this work, They move in silence. They move in silence. They're in your DMs. They're in your email, right? They're the ones who are looking out for you on the job that you have no idea. They have saved your ass more times than you know, and you will never know it was them saving you, because they're not doing it for that purpose. They're doing it because it's truly their conviction to do the right thing, to be good humans in the world, not to be seen as good humans, but to be them. And that being good humans in the world starts and ends at being another human that can truly, truly demonstrate empathy, can truly demonstrate it, right? Not talk about it, not engage in the dictionary version of it, but to truly demonstrate it. It starts and ends with empathy. It starts and ends with empathy. White folks will come into my space and Black content creator space, and you will say, here is a tool. Here is a tool. Sit with this. Sit with the questions. Sit with it. Sit with it. And they will watch your TikToks and they will click right off of it. Right? They will not engage with any real work to help them understand empathy, because they're not really interested in doing the work. They just want to be seen as good people. And social media is like a dopamine hit. You can get your dopamine hit of I'm a good person on social media. And a lot of white folks come to social media to get their dopamine hit that they are good people. Getting them to do the work, engage in the work, and then bring the work to the people around them in their organizations, in their friend groups. Sharing that work with, you can't get them to do that because they're not here really to do the work. They're here for their dopamine hit that they are good people. They need to be seen as good. That is their...
Please go watch that whole video from my mutual who I adore. And I'm so grateful that we were able to connect. She makes the point that white people have this incessant need to be perceived as good. This has always been true. That's why even when they were doing the most monstrous things, right? When they were eating the flesh of the enslaved, when they were going and murdering groups of people, they still had to conceal it with under the notion of manifest destiny, or that they were doing what God had called them to do because they want to be perceived as good. This is why after the Civil War, white people went out of their way in the South, the losers. And I don't blame them. I blame the winners who allowed this to happen. They went out of their way to rewrite history. They produced their own history books so that they could tell history in the way that they wanted to tell it. And of course, the way they told it was to frame themselves as some sort of heroes, even though what they were monsters. We have got to start using what we have to resist and push back. One of the main things that can be used against oppressors is that they still have this need to be perceived as good. Until you prove that you do not think like them, that you don't behave like them, that you are not aligned with them, and that you are willing to not profit from what they do. Until you do that, you are in that boat. Oh, that's reverse racism. Who gives a fuck? We will not be bothered with you or deal with you until y'all start creating a clear line in the sand, a clear delineation that says, I am not like them. There's a reason why men won't speak up about what the bad men are doing. Not my problem. I'm minding my business. There's a reason a lot of white people will never speak out against racism, because it is not touching them. The moment we as a community say, until you do something, until you are willing to risk something, until you are willing to put yourself on the line, you are just like them. You have this need to be perceived as something other, but you're not doing anything that makes you different than them. And until you're willing to do that, I'm just going to assume for my safety and for the safety of my community that you're just like them. Because this is the thing. There's a small group of people who are doing the evil acts. There's a small group of people who are just rampant racists. There's a small group of people who are just monsters to women and children and all of that. No, I don't think it's everybody. But it's everybody who stands around and watches it quietly because they know that they are not the target audience. So it's none of their business. So much of what has happened has been a mental war, and we have to start fighting back mentally. And we are well equipped for that. But when we allow ourselves to be conditioned to believe that vengeance is somebody else's, that the consequence will come from somewhere else, you make yourself a perpetual victim. We have to use the tools that we have. And leaning into their need to be seen as good is a tool that will be absolutely fucking effective.
Is the need.
I'm going to head to the gym in a second, but real quick, I just wanted to touch on this real interesting phenomenon that happens if you're like a black or brown person in a predominantly white, like social space or institution or whatever. How it be is like you'll be kicking it with like your progressive white friends, right? And then like being black or brown in this space, you'll inevitably draw the aggro of the most conservative or virulently racist white person in the vicinity, right? And then what follows is that you end up like having to defend your identity or the fact that you exist or that you have rights or just very basic political concepts political truths about the world, right? And then in the environment, immediate environment, you have the progressive white friends who are just entirely checked out of this situation, right? Like, they want no parts of it, and honestly, they're visibly annoyed that you are feeding into this person for killing the fucking vibe, right? Like, it's almost like they know in their head, like, I'm sure in their head, it's not your fault for, you know, being black or brown, and like that the fact that this person is being racist to you. I'm sure that they don't actually believe that, right? But, you know, impact over intent, right? So like what happens is that you have this black and brown person combating this racist person who initiated the problem, and then you have like the progressive white people who are just acting like moderate whites who just refuse to like do their job and shout down and ridicule this person who is like completely killing the fucking vibe and scaring the hoes, right? And like the thing is like you can talk to your like progressive white friends after the fact, right? And they just like will not understand. You know, they say like, you know, like, yeah, you're correct, whatever, you have the correct points or whatever, but you can't feed into it. And it's like they don't understand that there is no like feeding into it. If you're like black or brown in this, if you're some type of marginalized person in this space, that is drawn to you. It is not our fault that the person just starts screaming at you like with like white supremacist talking points, right? Like they don't just like I don't just like go in here and just like start attack. That's not how that shit works. And the thing is like it's really interesting, like microcosm, right? Because, you know, you have the black person here, and then you have like the person screaming like white supremacist talking points over here, and then like the moderate white people just all around them not doing anything or just annoyed that like the black person is like causing a stir or getting uppity or whatever, right? You can scale that up to the history of our entire nation, and it just fits, right? Like it's just a one-to-one situation here. And I just thought that it was like very interesting that like, as above, so below, right? Like, it's kind of like, you know, if it's happening up here, you scale it down to like literally like a singular social interaction, and that truth is still holding true. Like, you know what I mean? And it's interesting. Just like, let me know if you're like black or brown, if this has happened to you, like in the comment section, because like it's happened to me a couple times throughout my life, and it's like kind of exhausting to like, as a black or brown person, like we always have to be like the socially strongest person in the room because we cannot count on like our progressive white friends to like help us out in situations like that.
So this is all I got from this video, and I am going to say, why hang out with people you don't trust? Because from what you are saying, you do not trust them. So why are they your friends? I mean, why do you have to be the strongest person? See, let me tell you something. You see why you have to be the strongest person in a group of people and all that, because that is what everybody has assumed, that you all really have to keep being strong. I am tired of being strong. I am no longer the strong warrior. If it's somewhere that I really have to be strong to be in a group or to be a friend with you, to be friends with you, I will see you some other time. I mean, that time there might never be a time like that, because enough of black people being the strongest army or being the strongest soldier in the group. Now, like for all the people that spoke on like racism and how people are what black people are going through, and how how hard it is for black people to move forward. Why? Because the foundation is not, I don't know how to say it. The foundation is not straightforward. The foundation is not clean, right? Because you know how I keep talking about systemic racism. That system has really been pinned down. I don't know if you understand what I am saying. It is hard. And I really see how hard you people are pushing to like, dismantle the system and working so hard to like, be the best, and you are still progressing. Now, the reality is that these people feel like, everything, like it's all about them. If it's not all about them, nothing happens, or it's not going to work and all that. But you can see that a majority of them are not ready to dismantle the system or speak up on the racism that is going around or that it's happening to people that look like me. Number one is that they feel like they are not the ones experiencing it. This is something that I have learned to understand when it comes to racism and how it works. The people that dish out that do not really experience it, so they feel like you all can deal with it because it's not affecting us. So how are we supposed to speak on something that it's not our problem? I don't know if you all understand. It is not their problem. If you have seen how they act and behave, you definitely will understand that it is not their problem. And I have taken my time to study. I remember some videos that I brought here where a woman was talking about how would they let Kamala Harris to win. That if they let Kamala Harris to win, it means black men will be on top. So if black men becomes on top, it means their men, their husbands won't have anything to do rather than to go beg for a black man to help them or support them. Like, how are they supposed to sit and watch that happen? Why? Because they feel like it is all our word and we have to do all we can to maintain that position. I don't know if I have talked to excuse me. So that position is something that they are so like, it's really very important to them that they want to keep it and maintain it. That's one of the reasons why each time we talk about that. Okay, each time you see all this reaction, it also boils down to preserving race. I don't know if you all have heard this, some of them, some videos that I think I once brought them here where they were talking about how they need to have more children to preserve their race. And I don't know if you all also learned that some of them are very mad at J.D. Vance. Why? Because he got married to a brown person. And to them, they are like, how is this man supposed to preserve our race when he is married to a brown person? And the kids also, I think they bear Indian names and all that. See, you see this system, it really it's something that will be dismantled, right? But it is something black people will keep working and fighting for, because from the look of things, all these people will not come out and fight with you. They can do some sort of if it is this system, they are not ready and willing to dismantle it, because if they dismantle it, how do you want them to function? How do you want them to? I don't know if you all, they really cannot function very well without black people. And you all know that. So for that reason, they are just going to sit high and put their legs down, so it will be touching some people's head, but not anymore, because that system definitely will be uprooted. I remember there was a video that I brought here where a white woman was really very scared. I think she went to a store where she needed to buy something, and then she met black. It was a black-owned store or something like that. I think she went to pick up something for delivery, right? While she got there, I think she had attitude, and probably they also gave her attitude. And in the end, she came out to make videos and said that she went to a store to, I think she does DoorDash or something. Then they gave her attitude. People were like, "What did you do? Did you jump the line?" Or they told her, if people found out that she jumped the line, she wanted him to just attend to her instead of her to queue up and then join the queue, and when it gets to her turn, she'll be attended to. Then she came out to say that she was treated like a minority. That also tells you that they knew that there is how they treat minority. I think this is where I am going to Pe0ple. Thank you so much for the support. Let me know what you all think in the comment section. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye for now.